Hey guys, what is going on? We've got something very cool for you here today. Call of Duty on Twitter has released a couple of different teasers for the upcoming season, which is very, very exciting here. Apparently Task Force Harpy has discovered the treasure troves of classified arms on Caldera, meaning we might be moving towards some more multiplayer maps based around the Caldera map, which is very, very cool. Unfortunately, we don't have any more details other than the release date, which is going to be the 27th of April. We're also getting a couple of new weapons here apparently, and they are featured in the trailer. I'm not 100% sure what they are just yet, but by looking at this trailer a couple of times by now, we're going to react to this with you and we're going to see what we can see here. Now again, I'm not a gun expert by any stretch of the imagination, so if you do know what we are looking at here, make sure you leave it in the comments below. So let's do it here. Let's watch the trailer here, the little bit of a teaser trailer here. This should be fairly interesting. There should be a little bit to go through.
The little Nazi fucks. They set off nebula bombs across the world.
Alright.
Paris, London, Moscow, and now...
Yeah, I thought we were going to Caldera, which is pretty interesting. Not really... That sort of looks a little bit like the Etra Burst or maybe an automaton or something like that. It's kind of hard to tell. These usually move quite quickly, so you can't really get an exact look at what you're doing. But again, as I said, a couple of you guys out there might know what guns we're actually looking at here, so we'll keep going. Again, that's probably a new SMG in the bottom left. It looked a little bit like an MP40 maybe, but yeah, I can't imagine they wouldn't have new guns here. That's an MP40 that the enemy soldier's carrying. But that looks a little different. Yeah, that's definitely not an MP40. It actually looks a little bit like the Tech 9, I think it was, from Cold War. Just from that still image there. We'll go back to it in a second. Yeah, it looks very MP40-ish, but I don't think it is. I mean, they wouldn't include an MP40 in a trailer like this. And again, that does look like the Etra Burst or even like an automaton there. So that could be an older gun, but I imagine it's something new.
But what none of us knew was that a storm was on the horizon.
Ooh, what do we got?
With Nebula,
what's in the trailer?
Nazis had unwittingly shaken something awake. Something far more powerful and fearsome.
Looks like there's going to be a new melee weapon in this season as well, some kind of axe-like thing. This is pretty standard for the most part. They'll probably include this in either the battle pass or maybe as just like a challenge unlock eventually.
Than anything we could ever hope to comprehend.
Interesting. This is probably, again, another variant for our weapon here. Probably like the tier 100 variant. Again, another operator that we're going to get. If we go back a little bit, if we can find what we're looking for. Another new operator, again, as we can see here. Another one on the left there with the spooky mask. That's pretty terrifying. This chick is... She looks pretty scary. I don't like that mask. That's pretty spooky. But again, if you just listen here...
Fearsome than anything we could ever hope to comprehend.
That sounds like a big old monster screech, like, you know, the Godzilla scream, that real loud, high-pitched, like, massive scream. It sounds a little bit like that. Now, I've seen a little bit of rumblings on Twitter that maybe there's some kind of massive monster thing that they've unleashed, but again, we don't know any more details until they do sort of bring out, like, your roadmaps and, of course, more details on the COD website, but this appears to be a very, very exciting season. Let's just go back through the video a little bit and see if we can take a look at some of these weapons a little bit more closely here. As you can see, does seem to be a sort of assault rifle, maybe marksman rifle kind of weapon. As you can see, this does look a little bit like an MP40, but it's just a different shaped, like, housing in the middle of the gun. The body's just a little bit of a different shape. The most part I can actually think of, it does look a lot like the Tech 9 from Cold War, which is fairly interesting. If we were to move on a little bit here, we get a little bit of a closer look at it again. Just play it there. See if we can get a pretty clear image there. It appears to be a burst weapon, so this could be the Etra Burst, the Etra Burst, but I mean, I can't imagine they've put a weapon that's sort of a little bit, like, old in this particular trailer, so it's probably something new, but we'll have to wait and see with this. It looks pretty cool, though. And as you can see, this is what the that's actually an MP40 that he's holding there. You got a pretty decent look at the MP40, but that's not the same gun. It does look very, very big in her hands there, but I mean, this thing looking pretty different to an MP40, so we'll do a little bit of research today and we'll see if we can find out what this is, and we might cut it back in so we know a little bit more. Yeah, definitely a different gun. Definitely just a different weapon. Kind of hard to tell what old matey was carrying there. He doesn't really have it on the ground on him or anything like that. Taking another look. Again, there's a pretty clear picture of that weapon. Again, it's still a little bit tricky to exactly see what it is, but we'll have to wait and see with that one, I reckon. But yeah, other than that, other than the melee weapon we saw, I don't think there's too many more details from the trailer that we can get, other than the big old scream, which definitely seems pretty interesting. At first, when I watched this, I thought it might have been some zombies-related stuff, like that whole zombie scream that is iconic from the COD series, but it sounds a little bit more like massive, a little bit larger, big monster that might have been unleashed by the enemies in this game. So upon doing a little bit more research earlier today, we have found out that I believe the weapon that we're seeing in this image is the Carl Gustaf M45/B. So I imagine this is just going to be an M45 style weapon. I mean, I imagine it's going to either be called the M45 in the game or something completely different, as you know how they like to use those non-licensed names. It depends who sort of owns and sort of licenses this gun variant. So this actually looks pretty cool. This is pretty much exactly what we saw in the trailer. There's a lot of room for different attachments on this thing, like a larger magazine, maybe adding a drum mag on this thing. The stock is going to be a particularly interesting point of, you can see that there's a lot of room to add different stocks and stuff on this. The iron sights, again, this does look very much like the Tech 9 that we have seen from Cold War. I'm not even going to lie. The barrel looks exactly the same as some of those other guns. But again, taking another look at it here, as you can see, this is basically what we saw in that trailer. So that's going to be a very, very exciting thing. I do love when they do add new SMGs into the game. And just because they are seeing that Vanguard is struggling a little bit, it's nice that they are adding the more popular weapon categories into the game, like your SMGs and your assault rifles, just to keep the people who are playing excited with new guns on their favorite categories of like your SMGs and your assault rifles. So this is a pretty cool addition here. I'm looking forward to this. Maybe a little bit of a slower fire rate possibly, but we'll have to wait and see exactly what's going to happen with this thing. I imagine it's going to be a slow fire rate-ish, high damaging SMG, which as we have seen previously does quite well in these games. Continuing on our research today, I've recorded this in a number of different segments here. This appears to be the gun that we are looking at here in the Mauser Selbstschlager M1916. It'll probably just go into the game as like the M1916 because the rest of that is an awful lot to say for an English speaker like me who just stumbles over basic English words. So this does appear to be sort of that weapon that we are looking at here. This could end up being an assault rifle, or by the looks of things, maybe a marksman rifle style thing with sort of the longer barrel. It does look like a little bit of a marksman rifle style weapon, but I imagine this is probably going to go in either the assault rifle category or the marksman rifle category. This could even end up being like a burst weapon. I'm not 100% sure exactly the details on this thing, but it does look pretty cool. Again, I'm very, very excited about new weapons getting added into these games. As we did mention, of course, adding SMGs and assault rifles, always popular categories to add. Now, as we usually do get with most of the updates in Vanguard, we are getting 3 weapons, but I'm not 100% sure what the third weapon's going to be. If you can think of something that would fit perfectly in this game, make sure you do leave it in the comments below. I would love to talk to you guys about Call of Duty, because adding the new weapons into this game is very, very interesting here. If we do go back to the video here, this wouldn't surprise me at all if this was one of the settings for our map. We don't really have too much jungle related stuff in the game in Vanguard just yet. And I mean, they did say that they were going to cover the 4 different varieties or the 4 different theaters of war in this game. So this could be a little bit of an interesting one to see. Maybe some Pacific stuff, bit of island, a bit of jungle combat. I think that'd be quite cool. I mean, how crazy would it be if they did add jungle from the Treyarch games into these? I would actually massively appreciate that. I think that'd be very, very cool. Obviously, that's from like the Vietnam War. It's a different setting completely, but I imagine they could make it work. I mean, like Dome from Modern Warfare 3 getting converted into radar did fit quite nicely in this game. So it actually would be quite impressive if they managed to pull something like that off, but I can't imagine them doing that. We'll have to wait and see though. But yeah, honestly, a setting like this, sort of set in the jungle, a bit muddy, a bit tanks, a bit like of these vehicles that have been destroyed, the sandbags and stuff, I think would fit quite thematically well into this particular season. Again, we're going to have to wait and see exactly what is coming in this update. As I said, the release date for this update is the 27th of April. It does say that at the end of this video. 27th of April is the free content update, the classified arms in Season 3. So this is going to be a very, very interesting update. Thank you very much for watching this one. I do massively appreciate it, of course. Make sure you hit that subscribe button with those notifications turned on if you do want to stay up to date with all of the upcoming Season 3 content for Vanguard and Warzone. And hopefully that does mean I will see you in the next video. Bye!